Hello. Let me do another slightly formal check-in of the final chapters of Magic for Liars by Sarah Glly. Their book is finished. I did chapters. This is chapters 22 to like 27, where we basically get the solution to the mystery, the emotional climax, the resolution, the kind of sad sack PI. It's like, what's going to become of their life. Um, Ivy in the end finds herself. See, I can. This is all spoilers. I can talk about the ending in detail, specifics, without having to worry about spoiling. I'll probably try and do a actual book review after this bit, and which will be like, here is the setup. Here's what I thought about it in general terms. But this is where I can just kind of play with, you know, what did I think of what happened at the end. So it ends with Ivy sitting outside of Raoul's place, waiting for him to show up with a bottle of wine. She's obviously gonna take another run at like apologizing, seeing if she can patch things up for her being exposed as being a complete liar about who she actually was, that she wasn't someone with magic. And I've really exactly from what Raoul said in his reaction to that, you really get the senses of this is not so much that you're not a magic person as that you're someone who felt it necessary to lie to me about being a magic person, and that being your own bullshit, obviously. And you're not actually seeing me as a person, you're seeing me as some kind of attainable other life that you could have had. And being rather hurt by that. So I don't know if her waiting to kind of patch things up with Raoul, to hopefully have she seems to take it as like, either I'm going to get back with Raoul or I'm going to get back with my bartender and slip into alcoholism, which she's obviously a flawed character, so it doesn't seem like a particularly happy ending either way. Either Raoul throws her a lifeline, and she kind of goes that way, clinging onto him, but maybe not particularly. I don't know if she's dealt with her own crap, or she really doesn't deal with her own crap, and she goes and she drinks herself into oblivion, and more self-destructiveness. So that way. So kind of bittersweet that way. So the actual mystery, I kind of guessed it. I guess I did guess it, because I said, oh, there was that slip about that the murder victim Sylvie was sick, and it's like, oh, she was sick, and oh, what did she die because the sister, Tabitha, was trying to take out all the cancer and put her back together again, and which is, I guess, kudos for me, is, yeah, you figured it out. You kind of ignored all the stuff between Alexandra and Dylan. Oh, just the names alone just kind of tell you what kind of characters they are. Of the wealth and it's Alexandria and Dylan. Oh, Portia, don't do shut up, Portia. Sorry, a little bit of John John Cleese in there. But just, yes, it turned out that indeed was it. She had stayed up for 3 nights, taking apart her lover, taking all the cancer out, and was putting her back together again when, after 3 days, she had fallen asleep and everything fell apart really gruesomely, and she died. And yeah, to hammer home things on this, where Ivy thought, oh, I was going to have like an emotional connection with my sister, we were going to reconnect. It turned out that no, Tabitha was basically using that emotional connection to extract information from her. She did drug her sister. She actually did more than that. She actually implanted in Ivy the conviction that, oh, it was Alexandria who did who killed Sylvie. It's like, implanted it in her head to, like, if that had worked, if it worked all really well, I guess Alexandria would have ended up, getting seriously screwed over for it. But I mean, or her by pushing her sister off in a false goose chase, she could have also just destroyed Ivy's 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 career. And also, it turns out that what gave her the confidence to try doing all this with Sylvie was that this whole thing of kind of the abortion subplot of, like, asking for an abortion, that they'd been asking Sylvie for an abortion. It's like, oh, and then it's like, well, okay, well, then they go to Tabitha to do a highly dangerous, what should only be done under kind of supervised medical conditions, do a abortion, a magical abortion. She did do. She gave in. She did do it, but she did it because she wanted to actually test out her skills. She did it in the most callous way possible. Courtney, the girl who Dylan had gotten pregnant, she didn't even sedate her. Apparently, what you would do is, before you take somebody apart, you actually sedate them so they're not horrifically looking down at themselves being, uncoiled, and the kind of the fetus being plucked out, which is super traumatized Courtney. And Tabitha really seems to have some kind of empathy chip not there. She didn't give a damn about Courtney, about doing this thing, about potentially, damaging her for the rest of her life, much less killing her. Possibly not being able to have children ever again. You get that sense of this. Miss Webb says, like, the possibility of scarring. It turned out that, yes, when Miss Webb said, like, cancer, I already told your sister that, we can't do anything about cancer. She wasn't asking about for the mother, she was asking about for her lover. And yeah, while she may have had those kind of feelings about her mother, and in some ways you wonder if it's like, oh, this is happening to me again. This isn't particularly about Sylvie. It's about, this is happening to me again. This happened to me with my mother. Now it's happening to me with my lover. So I am therefore going to kind of, I can't let this happen to myself again. So I'm going to do this highly dangerous thing to Sylvie, who, yeah. And, like, was there consent? Was Sylvie just like, okay, well, I'm going to die anyways, I'll let you do it? Kind of a sacrifice thing. It's you kind of wonder what the situation was there. So I pretty much called all that. They did actually kind of get me going a bit with Alexandria, of just exactly how much power she did have, because she does also have that power. She, it turns out, is going to be the chosen one, or at least she's going to be the one of the most powerful mage of her generation. She explodes Dylan, her brother, when he kind of bursts on the scene, when there's the whole revelation of that it was his child. And apparently she's been doing it to other people too. She's been taking them apart and then putting them back together again, and doing it conscious. So they are terrified of her. They are terrified of her. Though actually there's also the thing of whether it's Courtney is reacting to Alexandria, or is Courtney is reacting to Tabitha. But you also get the sense of, oh, Tabitha and Alexandria, as Ivy says later, you actually would have been a good mentor to her. You guys are so alike, even though it might have been one of those negative mentors where she could have, like, learned from you of what not to do, of how not to be, or could have pushed her just into the as worse situation. But yeah, there's this emotional manipulation kind of powers magic, but it's super, super high advanced, almost to the point of it's theoretically possible, but we don't think anyone's actually able to do it because it's just too much. But yeah, it turns out that she does have that power, um, and how much it is conscious or not. So I don't know. It did as a mystery, where you mix the mystery with the kind of the emotional through line of the thing, and the emotional through line being of Ivy's emotional through line, and with her sister, and with her relation to magic. It was definitely there. Um, I don't know if she went anywhere. That's maybe the frustrating thing at the end. I don't know if Ivy went if Ivy got anywhere through this thing. Which, I mean, I guess there's that dreaded feeling of, is this supposed to be the first in a series, and the author didn't want to push the character too far along, because that would rob later books of more development. But it feels like it's like, uh and like, are we going to get, but it didn't feel like we got the full story on her. Like, it's like, I feel like there's going to be another novel too, where, or more, where she is going to be having that self-torture thing. In some ways, that it was so arrested, um, made it feel not as satisfying as it could be. I should do some research to find out whether, yes, indeed, the plans are that there would be more novels following Ivy Gamble as we go along. I'd rather suspect there would be. It's an interesting world, because of like the magic, and Ivy's relation to the magic, and that idea of like kind of the Muggle. It's the Muggle point of view, but it's also just the point of view of somebody who, through the accident of birth, didn't get blessed with all the power in this society. Um, and obviously, someone like Alexandria is somebody who would really be the super privileged, the highest of the high. And that whole thing of absolute power corrupting absolutely, and just kind of the nasty, twisted kind of lives of people like that with so much power, and how that warps them, or potentially can warp them. Um, yeah, so I'm not that satisfied with how far Ivy went. That how it got left with Ivy. I was impressed that we did get kind of that emotional thing. I feel like maybe that if they had, um, hadn't had the sister do that little slip of she was sick beforehand, if they had just kind of kept it as like, um, where's the damn report on her, the medical report, and that had shown something, even though, because she actually had been so successful, she actually did get rid of all the cancer. So the medical report would have shown that she didn't have any cancer. So if that's the case, why would Tabitha take it then? It's like Tabitha would maybe like to look at it and go, okay, does it say cancer or not? Because if it said cancer, then you might twig, once you find out that I'm involved with this woman, that I might do something stupid, like try and perform highly dangerous, highly insane, medical, magical medical practice on her. But if it actually showed that she was cancer free, just dead, then there wouldn't be anything to conceal that way. I I, I think it would have been better almost if like it had shown cancer, but they had kept a hold of that, and through other methods, that the penny finally dropped with Ivy, versus having that little slip. Because once that slip happens, it was like immediately, oh, okay, that's what's happened. She's performed a medical thing on her lover, and it's gone terribly wrong, and that's why is it murder? I don't know, consensual, horrific, uh, magical surgery on somebody. I guess so. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I don't know if I've got anything else to say. I also just think it's been an interesting novel, because that whole thing of, how going back to school can really trigger you. I know for myself, like I had a really bad experience in my, especially in like kind of grade 8 to 10, in my high school. It was just like it was hell. I was bullied lots, and there's been like as a support worker, I could have also become an educational EA, educational advisor or whatever, where you would work in a high school, and it's like I cannot imagine working in a high school, working with high school kids, because I think in a way that would still put me back in that kind of mindset of what I was like as a teen, bullied, scared, miserable teen. And it's like, why would I actually kind of choose to go back and live in that world? Um, and that yeah, it's just for me that would be taking a bad step back into that past history. And then even though that Ivy didn't go to this kind of school, it does feel like the same thing has happened to her. It's like all these mean girls and the bullying. She kind of wavers between being an adult and being a teenager. Um, and you can see that with some of the teachers. It's like their boundaries with the students are terrible. There's like one really creepy um, male professor who obviously is looking on the female student body as his cruising grounds uh, for uh, for the next hot thing to pick up, which is just like there's that, but there's also you wonder with like Sylvie being able to talk to the students. She said she was able to talk to the students and really listen to them. So maybe she was actually someone who was actually really present there. But there's some of the other students, some of the other teachers that you wonder, were they able to keep proper professional distance, or were they sucked in? Um, so yeah, okay. So it's an interesting book. I wasn't quite satisfied with that ending there. I think that's what I'll leave it there, and I'll probably go do a little research and find out if it is the final book, if it's a standalone or if it's actually the start of a series. I have a feeling it's the start of a series because it really refuses to kind of have a little. If it had a little bit more, just like something, um, whether it was positive or negative, it's like it really stops. Like, oh, between these two choices, even though the two choices are really shitty. As I said, the two choices are really shitty. So it definitely seems to be just saying, this is our detective and that she's going to be messed up through the whole series. Which maybe isn't something that you would have. You could have that at the end of a novel, but I think you'd have it more definite, like I'm going to the bar, and that's how it ends. Or I don't know, the hooking up with Raoul thing. It's like I think that would be that does seem like that's the opening for the next novel. All right, I will leave it there. I've jabbered a lot.